There is only one place on the planet where you can find animals with disabilities kept in a clean and well-nourished environment. This is the Kitale Nature Conservancy. One would ask why one man, Mr. Boniface Ndura, could come up with such an idea to collect animals which would otherwise be killed at birth for lack of economic value or because they are considered a bad omen here in Africa.
It's my love for animals which drove me to notice that in our environment we have this kind of animals. I think this is very rare because other human beings take it very casually, and nobody has ever thought that we have such animals in our environment.
The keeping of genetically mutated animals seems to be a strange idea in the world. When Ndura started keeping these animals in 2006, he was met with different negative reactions from neighbors, government agencies, and animal rights activists. He weathered all this, and today, KNC is the ultimate destination for ecotourism in this part of Kenya, especially educational tours. The Kitale Nature Conservancy, KNC, is located in western Kenya, about 5 kilometers from Kitale town and approximately 500 kilometers from Nairobi. The Conservancy lies on the eastern slopes of Mount Elgon, the third largest mountain in Africa, in an area commonly known as Kenya's breadbasket because of its rich agricultural potential. In stark contrast to this high-yielding agricultural area, we have what one could call the Laboratory for Investigation and Research, the KNC.
From an animal point of view, production point of view, you are supposed to dispose of such animals. But of course, they also offer an opportunity for people to study different, mutations that are there. And that's one thing I liked about the Kitale Nature Conservancy. It's a good idea. Yeah, and it's also a funny hobby. It's probably the first one of its kind in Kenya. I haven't seen any other. And it's already acting as a lab for us to teach our students whenever we talk about deformities.
Mr. Ndura would disagree with this notion. On the contrary, he believes there is something more to it than just the normal mutations.
I'm convinced that what is happening to these animals is also happening to human beings, because I collect these animals in a great number from a certain area. And I've been hearing quietly, I've been hearing stories, although they are not noised around, that we have human beings who are also sharing these kind of conditions.
Certainly, so much is happening to our environment and directly or indirectly affecting life on our planet.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Ann Chebit. Niko walemavu tofauti. Tunaona mimi sina mkono, sina mguu mwingine, lakini ni hii nafanya kazi.
It would be something to really look into. If they are really from that one area largely, then it's something that should be of concern, and especially if it's touching on human beings.
That kind of situation needs thorough research and investigation, because some environments that we live in might be polluted maybe with the chemicals You might not have an industry in an area or heavy intensive agriculture, but the underlying geology of the area, you can have maybe some radioactive material or some kind of chemicals that could induce mutation. And that ties in with the thinking of this ecosystem health group, that some of the changes we are experiencing might necessarily not be inherited, but might be they are more related to the environment we live in.
There are more than 40 animals with different deformities in the Conservancy. The common deformities are hermaphrodism 40%, unclassified reproductive defects 10%, misplaced vulva 10%, missing or extra limbs 39%, deformed and duplicate facial features 0.2%, missing tails 0.3%, dwarfism 0.3%, and other deformities 0.2%. Other very rare and probably undocumented deformities at the Conservancy include one horse-like bull and a hyena-like sheep with no hooves on its rear legs. The impact of climate change is here, and as experts grapple with statistics on what is happening, one could ask whether the effects we are seeing in plants, animals, oceans, and weather patterns is also happening to man unnoticed.
The danger that we are facing, and that is more of a threat to our life that is coming from the changing environment, is to do with the upsurge of diseases that hitherto we believed were more genetic based, but there are abnormalities now occurring in our population that hitherto we thought were just genetically based. We get exposed to these chemicals either through the food we get from nature or our own exposure by nature of work we do. We believe these chemicals are causing some genetic mutations. Studies elsewhere even show they cause deformities. They cause, abnormalities in neurobehavioral development among children, and we can no longer just assume that these chemicals we are causing have no effect on human beings.
We've changed over time. We've never, even for me, studying the involvement of man, it was never clear how one went from Erectus to Homo sapien. Yeah? But then if you think about it now in terms of climate change, clearly that had an impact. And clearly now, and also the kinds of foods we're eating that are being affected, it's natural that the human body physiologically will have to change.
Mr. Ndura has lived with mutated animals for more than 20 years. Though not a scientist, he retired as a mathematics teacher. He has noticed certain patterns in the mutations in the animals he collects and rears in his conservancy.
When you look at these animals, and assuming that this is a random sample, because I don't use any selection criteria when I'm looking for these animals. But when you come to look at them, you find that some deformities are more prevalent than others. Like the reproductive deformity. It is the highest. It constitutes about 70% of all the animals we have in the Conservancy. That is a question which should really, or is begging for an answer from our geneticists. Why is it that the gene which codes for the reproductive organs is more susceptible to manipulation than all the others? Then again, another area of concern to me, which I would like the geneticists to tell us, is the emerging deformities which have not been documented anywhere, like this one of reproductive organs which are misplaced or in the wrong places. They are in the wrong places. E.g., like you saw, we have two havers whose vulvas are in the wrong places, such that mating is not possible. That is very frightening, because as we have been saying, if such a deformity crosses over to human beings, and we have women all over with such deformities, I think the world will be coming to an end.
Life on the planet Earth continues to precariously hang on the activities of man. So what we are seeing at the Kitale Nature Conservancy could be the writing on the wall.
Indeed, as an environmental ecologist, the moment I see a big number of insects have just died without any cause, or fish have died in a lake and there's been no other drastic change in that environment, or birds die en masse, I get worried as a human being, because life is the same life. The life of that insect which died, or that bird or fish which died, is just the same life that we have. The issue is, human beings, we are more endangered because we are higher in the food chain. Indeed, we eat birds, we eat fish, we eat insects. So we slowly accumulate these chemicals in our body, and these chemicals can have a lot of impacts in future.
The Kitale Nature Conservancy has grown from simply being a place for mutated animals to become an important biodiversity center. This expansion is in line with the vision of the establishment, which is to be a world role model in biodiversity conservation and education.
For example, we have a model. This is a model of a butchery, but it's the only butcher in the whole world that looks like this one. We have a person by the name John Buffalo up there. You can see that old man smoking. We have a goat and a woman cooking. Now, John Buffalo is an old man. He likes eating meat because meat gives him protein. That's why you can see he's very healthy. So one day when he was very hungry, one day he told his woman to cook for him some meals. But the woman started preparing the porridge. John Buffalo became very bitter. He ordered that woman to go and slaughter that goat. The goat that was there was a goat passing by there. When the goat heard that it was going to be killed, it even tried to escape with that knife so that it cannot be killed. So when you're in great fear, there are some things that your body will normally do. Your body will automatically do. One of them is you'll produce smoke from behind, and the other one you will urinate on yourself. That is what that goat is doing. And the goat, when it was urinating, there was a fish, a very thirsty fish that was passing by there. So the fish also saw that water, and it was also very thirsty. It decided to drink the water. But the whole concept there is about creativity. We are telling people to be very creative in anything they do in life.
The diversity of the Kitale Nature Conservancy includes, among other things, very unique areas of interest for a curious visitor. These are biodiversity conservation, the global warming model, biblical mountains, nature trail, and leisure activities. there are other botanical gardens in the country, the Kitale Nature Conservancy boasts of having the biggest botanical garden in terms of species. It is home to over 800 tree species, most of which are indigenous to Kenya.
As you can see, we have arranged our plants according to the genus, but of different species. The objective of doing that is to facilitate learning. And the plants that are here, most of them are very medicinal. Some are rare species, some are endemic species, and some are ornamental species, and others are the ones used to plant on hedges. This tree was used by the Kikuyus to produce the local herb called the Muratina brew, but at the same time it has a very medicinal value. If you take that fruit of Muratina and you boil it, and you wash a child who is suffering from measles, that child is going to be healed. We have another plant here called Erythrina basilica. The Kenyans call it mrembe. If you are suffering from measles, you come and hit yourself here against the mrembe tree. If you are suffering from gonorrhea or syphilis, you boil the leaves, the bark of this one using goat's meat or goat's bones. Then you drink it. At the same time, mrembe was being used to make rubber stamps. You take the barks of these ones; they are also very good at making rubber stamps. The young ladies used to use the bark of this one. They remove the roots, the barks of the roots. So and then they rub the barks of the roots of these arugana on their chest, and after 2 weeks the breasts are developed.
The global warming model is a major attraction at the KNC.
Now when the chemicals are dumped,
the model is a site of choice for mostly school parties since the subject of environment was entrenched into the syllabus. It illustrates various ways in which the ozone layer is depleted, leading to global warming and its effects.
When the temperatures change, it means you have other species now coming to inhabit those areas, and those species which were endemic in those areas before end up now becoming extinct. So we have seen a lot of degradation in terms of the reduction in biodiversity of different areas. The composition of the biomass is reducing, and the different species are reducing. The species populations are going down in certain areas, and these are the ones that we are associating with climate change.
The Kitale Nature Conservancy undertook extensive research in the symbolism of mountains to different religious beliefs and practices. The result was corroborative that indeed there has been a very intrinsic relationship between mountains and divine authority, and more importantly to weather, especially rains, since mountains are home to forests.
The biblical mountains is to demonstrate to the world that God loved mountains, judging by the various activities he carried out on the mountains, like sending Abraham to Mount Moriah to sacrifice his son, like Jesus being crucified on Mount Moriah, Jesus ascending to heaven, God launching the commandments on Mount Sinai, and so many activities, all of them taking place on mountains. So if we can have the Muslims and the Christians all teaming up together to help to conserve our mountains, then it will be a very huge effort by almost the whole of the population of Kenya. And if we come to that, our mountains will be safe. And we shall not run around crying for water.
The wetland conservation model runs for more than 1.5 kilometers through the Conservancy. The reason for this model is as Mr. Ndura explains.
Always need to cultivate there in the wetland. There are certain other economic activities you can carry out there without destroying the wetland.
A walk through the Kitale Nature Conservancy reveals many environmental challenges that face man, and this little model demonstrates how man can redeem himself, because inarguably he is his own worst enemy.
we can still redeem ourselves, but I believe the human being, the action of the human beings are becoming a threat to the core of life on earth. And it's the human being to do something about it. So the action we do today is very important. Like some people have said, you should act locally, but think globally. Because your small action as a human being in one corner is now affecting everybody.
Let us all come together and let each person play his part at the individual level, collective level, and then so that we can try to undo the damage we have done to our environment and to nature.